Okay, good morning, everyone. These are the passages from Ab Urbe, which we're due to start when we finished off the De Romanis textbook, number two. And so I'm afraid, because I'm not feeling too well today, I'm going to be away from school, so we might as well get cracking now. These are the stories of the foundation of Rome, starting off with, I suppose, its earliest history, which is Aeneas and the Trojan survivors, the Trojan refugees, if you will, starting off and then later on moves to Aeneas's descendants, Romulus and Remus, and then finally for the different kings of Rome until we get to Tarquinius Superbus. So it's really good to do these as practice unseens. Lots of them are already online. I'm just uploading this very first one for you now as a special treat because I am away. But we will be looking at these for the majority of this term before we all move on. Okay, without further ado, let's get cracking with Ab Urbe. First bit then. Olim in Asia. Once there was in Asia an ancient city, which was called Rome. Appellata est. Perfect passive verb, mere, as you know so well. The Greeks besieged that city, decem annos, time how long accusative, for 10 years, and at last ceperunt, captured it. Priamo rege, with Priam the king, and with his sons having been killed. That is, Avery, as you know so well, an ablative absolute, perfect passive participle in the ablative, with something having been somethinged. That's the way that the Romans, if you remember, we said, kind of did their perfect active participles. And so you would say, with the teacher having been heard, the students entered the room, as in you would say, magistro audito, or having heard the teacher, the students entered the room. So, with Priam the king and with his sons dead, they destroyed the city. But Aeneas, who had been pluperfect, amongst the superlative, the most famous defenders, genitive, of the city, fled from the city with a few comrades. Cum profugos, when he had collected profugos, refugees, I suppose, from all parts, in Italiam, he decided to migrate into Italy. Again, we've got this story of the Trojan ancestors were Dardanus, who was originally from Italy. So it was their, I suppose, motherland, fatherland, whichever it was. Post septem, after 7 years, he came into that part of Italy where there was the city Laurentine, where there was the city of the Laurentines. There, cum, when the Trojans were agerent, were driving cattle. If you look at your notes here, it says that pridam is kind of plunder, but in this context, it's going to be cattle. So when the Trojans were driving cattle from the fields, King Latinus and the natives, that's where we get the word aboriginal from. It means ab origine, the people that were there from the beginning, who were possessing those lands, paraverent, prepared to defend their fields. But Latinus, after he cognovit, is in the next page, but after he learnt in a conversation the origin of the group and of their leader, there's the cognovit, he fecit, he made a peace treaty, cum Aenea, with Aeneas. Afterwards, he did it, he gave his daughter Lavinia to him in marriage. He handed him over in marriage. This was fairly common to marry off one's daughters for political, strategic reasons. The Trojans founded the city, Quam, which Aeneas named Lavinia ab nomine, from the name of his wife, Deinde Turnus. Then Turnus, the king of the Rutulians, so this is another Italian tribe, to whom Lavinia, before the arrival of Aeneas, desponsa erat, pluperfect passive, had been betrothed. Aggressus est, attacked Latinus and the Trojans. Note there, aggressus est looks like it should be passive, but I just made it active. We call that a deponent verb, which are the verbs that have passive endings, but we translate them as being active in a war. There will be a few things here which are new to you. Don't freak out, that's absolutely fine. Victi sunt Rutuli, the Rutulians were defeated, but the victors lost their leader Latinus. Inde. From there, Turnus sought help from the Etruscans, so this old Italian tribe, who filled Italy with the fame of sui nominis, of their own name. Specifically, there was a guy called Mezentius that was a horrible king that had been exiled. So he allied himself with that. Ili, those men, metuentes, present participle, those people, fearing the new city, growing in number and wealth, Laiti happily brought help. Aeneas, in such discrimine, difficulty, peril maybe, Aeneas, in such great peril, ut, plus this ending, in order to have the natives and the Trojans under the same law and name. Now that we call a purpose clause, where we just change the ending slightly and we express the indefinite. So it's called a purpose clause, ut plus these new endings, ut haberet, in order that he might have the Aborigines, the natives we'll call them actually, the natives and the Trojans under the same law and name. Aeneas in such peril, appellavit, called each race the Latins, both races the Latin, cum adversos. Although he was able, cum here means although with posset, although posset, he was able to defend himself against the Etruscans, moenibus, from the walls, tamen, he still led out his troops against the battle line, into battle. The Etruscans victi sunt, were defeated, perfect passive, third person plural. However, the victors lost their leader as beforehand. After the battle, they were not able reperire to find Aeneas. Therefore, many men believed him transisse, indirect statement following a verb of saying or thinking, to have gone over, to have crossed over to the gods. Therefore, many men, crediderant, believed eum, him, to have, perfect infinitive indirect statement, to have crossed over to the gods. Very well done, everyone. I look forward to seeing you when I'm feeling better, hopefully tomorrow. All the best then. Bye-bye.